What people are saying when they are turned off from the JLP and the PNP is that they are tired of being led from the top down. People want to feel empowered from the bottom up. And if any third party in Jamaica is going to make a foothold, then they have to get ground support. Are they at that table? Investigation, reduce spending. We don't really have a problem with it. The Jamaica Labour Party just won a historic third term, and Andrew Holness will continue to be the Prime Minister for at least another 5 years. The battle between the two main political parties, the Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party, is to be expected. But in recent years, we've had some viable contenders among third parties in Jamaica. And a lot of people seem to think that perhaps one of these third parties had a good chance of getting a seat in the election. Of course, that did not happen, although they did receive some votes. Here's why I think that it's been very difficult for third parties to get a real foothold in Jamaica's politics. First, the party platform. Some of these parties, I believe, have put together platforms that would seem on the surface to address some of the issues that Jamaicans are concerned with, right? The economy and crime and that sort of thing. But these parties are not able to fully explain to the people the how and the why they're able to do these things. Now, some may argue that when the PNP or the JLP put forward their platform, they don't go into details either and say, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make this actually become a reality? But because those two parties are already well established in the Jamaican psyche, so you as a newcomer have to go in depth and be able to explain to people how you're going to get this done. In other words, the public is going to be much more skeptical of you as a newcomer than they would be of the political parties that they are already familiar with, that are already established in the local system. Of course, I have, my disagreements with some of the issues that are put forth by some of these newcomers on the political scene. I think that some of the policies are not well thought through. And I also think that some of them just have too much of an air of conservatism. In other words, I don't see how these newcomers have differentiated themselves. Few points, yes. Speaking to some of the things that people want, yes. But generally, as political parties, they're running the same kinds of campaigns as the two main political parties. And to me, there's not much of a difference that would stir me personally. That's a personal view. That would stir me personally to choose one of these over the two main parties. The other thing is candidates. If you are able to get candidates that are already well known to people, then perhaps in specific, parish council divisions or specific constituencies, people who know these candidates may, sign on and support these candidates in an election. Because previously we have had independent candidates who people know them in their constituencies, people like them in their constituencies, that people have voted for independent candidates. So it is not too far out of the realm to say, okay, I'm going to put forth a candidate that people like and associate with. If you can start on the premise of getting one seat and focus on campaigning in one or two seats instead of spreading yourselves across the island and across various places, if you can focus your energies into specific divisions and specific constituencies, you may see more of a results. And especially if you put forth candidates that people are already identify with. You coming as a newcomer into the system and bringing forth people that the constituents, the voters have never heard of is going to be a much more difficult hurdle to climb. The third thing I think that's holding back these third parties is the longevity. I think over the years we have seen third party come again and again and again. NDM, the National Democratic Movement, seemed to be the one that had the most traction. And that was largely because Bruce Golding. And one can argue that when Bruce Golding left the party and went back to the JLP, there was nothing more from the NDM again. It kind of just fizzled away over time. But this is what has happened over the years, wherein these parties start off very strong and they know people want an alternative and people are look forth to them to play the long game, and then they lose over time because they don't get a seat or because they don't get themselves established in the way that they would want to. They lose support over time and then the party fizzles. And I think that if people are truly committed to making a ground in the political process, then they will stay the course. And that means that your party cannot center around one person, like how the NDM was kind of really coalesced around Bruce Golding. The party just cannot be centered around one person. You have to build a party from the ground up. You can't just go and say, okay, I am the face of the party. I am the be all and end all of the party. And then, when you get tired of it and you stop pushing, then so do other people. You have to build ground support. And when you build ground support, then, people will see that people will buy into the message and people will help you to push the message. Here in New York, we're in the midst of the mayoral race, and Zoran Mamdani, who is in the lead for the next mayor, to be the next mayor of New York City, that's the kind of campaign he ran. First of all, he went on the ground and spoke to people, and he took the feedback. Do you hear what I said? He took the feedback from what he heard people say about why they voted one way or the other in 2024, and he tailored his campaign according to what people said to him that was important to them. And I think that more, if as an outsider, you want to gain that kind of foothold, you have to emulate that kind of strategy, wherein you go from the ground up. And I think that what people are saying when they are turned off from the JLP and the PNP is that they are tired of being led from the top down. People want to feel empowered from the bottom up. And if any third party in Jamaica is going to make a foothold, then they have to get ground support. They have to go to people and meet them where they're at and take it from there. Build their campaign around what the people want, listen to people, and have people on the ground feel invested in that party and what that party's mission and objectives are, and then people will buy in. In other words, it will make your job so much less harder at trying to convince people to vote for you if you build ground support instead of being leaders at the top telling people what to do. Anyway, I'm a nobody sitting in my chair of foreign talking about Jamaica. Nobody has to listen to me. I'm just saying I've been following politics in different areas for a long time. I've been following Jamaican politics for a long time. And I'm saying that this is my opinion of how the third parties can make a difference. Don't wait until election time. Work throughout the period on the ground and build ground support and listen to people.